Battlefront 2 deservedly copped a lot of flack at launch for heavily integrating its multiplayer progression with randomized loot crates. People were also pretty unhappy with how long it took to unlock things, with some players estimating it would take over 4,500 hours to unlock everything the game had to offer. Now 5 months after launch, DICE have rolled out a completely revamped linear progression system, which they hope will reinvigorate the community and bring new players on board. The most fundamental change with this new system is the removal of loot crates from progression. Although they still remain in the game, they no longer contain star cards or any other item that impacts gameplay. While this alone is significant, there are a number of other important changes with this update, as well as a few elements which have remained the same. In this video, I'll compare the strengths and weaknesses of this new system to the previous one, such as how long it takes to unlock the various items, and the level of control you have over your progression path. I'll also break down and explain the changes, and provide some advice on how to rank up as quickly as possible. I've broken this into 3 sections: overview and review, in-depth breakdown, and strategy guide. If you want to skip ahead to any of these sections, there are timestamps in the description. So if you just want to know if this new progression system is an improvement or not, then the simple answer is yes. The vanilla system was so needlessly complex and time consuming, it's kind of baffling that it ever shipped. I don't think it was DICE's intention for it to end up as messy as it was, and maybe what was shipped at launch wasn't part of the original plan. I strongly believe that they had already built the progression system and that crates were tacked on later, making the whole system slower and more confusing than it should have been. You only have to create a simple workflow diagram of the original system to see how glaring the problems were. This drawn-out and bureaucratic process was made even more tedious by the frustratingly slow load times, suggesting that the developers responsible for this component of the game either didn't plan it with crates in mind, or they were secretly Phantom Menace fans.
This is where Chancellor Valorum's strength will disappear.
Jokes aside though, this overhaul of the old system was desperately needed if DICE and EA wanted to keep people playing long term. While only time will tell if they've been successful, it shows that EA is at least willing to try and correct their mistakes if nothing else.
Rebels are retreating. They won't be so overconfident next time.
As for the upgrade itself, it's definitely an improvement. Not only does it feel like you're making tangible progress much faster than before, but it's also far easier to understand. Progression and the in-game economy, for example, are no longer bound to each other. This eliminates the need to spend credits or parts on upgrades, reserving the use of credits purely for the purchase of cosmetic items. It also completely removes the element of chance from ranking up, putting you in full control of what you unlock next. You are now rewarded for playing a specific unit, unlike the original system which didn't, outside of a handful of milestones. This means that you're not unlocking star cards for units you have no intention of playing as or ranking up. And while there's still an element of grinding involved, the fact that you can control your own progression path is a massive improvement. There were a handful of other improvements made too. For starters, all the hero characters and ships have been unlocked, so you don't need to choose between ranking up or unlocking new characters. This gives everyone access to every unit, making things a little bit more balanced too. In addition, the Bespin map from the previous game has been added to Blast, Heroes vs Villains in the arcade mode. Arcade also gets all epic star cards and weapon unlocks, so you're free to try every card and weapon to its full potential before deciding to unlock it. The UI has seen a few improvements too, such as making milestone rewards and ranking up more obvious. These changes are apparently the first of many, and hopefully this means that the team are hard at work on new content now that they've shipped this update. To say that progression has been completely fixed wouldn't be totally accurate though. There are a few areas that still stand out as clunky, like having to back out to the main menu to access milestone rewards and purchase cards. Overall though, it's a vast improvement, and if loot crates and the progression system were the biggest deterrent to playing Battlefront 2 for you, then I'd certainly give the game another look. So let's talk about the key areas that have changed and how they work together. Star cards are still a central component, but earning them and upgrading them is now far more straightforward. Crafting parts no longer exist. These have been replaced with skill points, which essentially act as unlock tokens. If you're familiar with Call of Duty's COD points, then this is a very similar setup. Crafting parts are awarded by gaining experience and ranking up with specific units. The more time you spend with one class, hero, or ship, the more experience you'll earn for that unit. So if you want to focus all your time ranking up Yoda to the max level, this is now possible. Rank is now clearly displayed next to each unit, and a progress bar can be seen during matches to help you see how close you are to the next rank. Every time you rank up, you're awarded 1 skill point for that unit. Skill points cannot be used across every class and hero, so it's not possible to use a high-ranked character to grind out skill points for a lower one. The frequency at which you earn skill points depends on how well you're doing and also the rank of the unit. The lower ranks require less experience points to level up, whereas the higher ranks can require twice as much, making progress slower. To simplify, I'll give you an example. Let's assume you're a player of moderate skill and your unit's rank is under level 15. If you're earning on average 4,000 experience points per match playing a mode like Strike, then you'd be unlocking a skill point every 2 to 3 games. And the best part about this new system is that star cards are nowhere near as expensive as they were before. Star cards cost 1 skill point to buy and 1 skill point each time you upgrade them. This is so much easier to grasp than the old parts system. Back in the day, you'd need 480 parts to upgrade a level 3 card to a level 4, and that was after spending that amount already getting the card to level 3. Now, ranking up cards to the highest level costs only 4 skill points in total. Unfortunately, you still need to back out to the main menu to spend your skill points, although you don't need to navigate to the collection screen to redeem milestone rewards anymore, which is definitely a welcome change. Outside of this, milestones operate in the same way as before. As you complete various objectives, you'll unlock items such as weapons, attachments, and credits. Credits are still awarded at the end of each match, as well as through milestones and inside crates. Crates have taken a back seat in this new system, and apart from credits, they only contain cosmetic items such as emotes and victory poses. Crates can only be earned by completing milestones, time challenges, and by logging in daily. They cannot be purchased at all, and the crate section is now reserved exclusively for opening crates. Strangely, they don't contain appearances, which is Battlefront lingo for character skins. I guess with all the controversy surrounding loot crates, it makes sense to remove the element of gambling from the purchase of cosmetic items. That being said, I'm not sure why it's okay to have emotes and victory poses in crates but not skins. Appearances will only be purchasable with credits or crystals, making them the only form of microtransaction in the game. These were not made available in the progression update and will come along in April. It does seem a bit strange to have 2 different processes for obtaining the same type of item, although in the grand scheme of things it's not really a big deal.
I'm in your debt.
So let's talk strategy. I've already touched on the fact that you can focus on individual units much better than before, and with so many star cards available, it makes a lot of sense to approach ranking up this way, rather than spending your skill points across a variety of different units. This will not only allow you to unlock and upgrade abilities making that unit more powerful, but spending more time with one unit will allow you to become more proficient with it. These 2 factors combined should make you perform better and will accelerate the speed at which you rank up. This approach may feel like you're missing out on everything that the game has to offer, but if performing well and ranking up quickly matters to you, then focusing on a few units rather than everything is a smart way to go. Star cards are still an extremely important part of progression because they provide you with new and more powerful abilities. To upgrade cards to higher tiers, you'll need to reach a certain rank first. Thankfully, cards no longer act as rank, so you don't have to spend your skill points on cards that you don't want. There are a lot of cards in Battlefront 2, over 320 to be precise, with potentially more coming. And with so many on offer, it can be difficult to know which ones you should unlock. Thankfully, there are 7 common boost cards for the infantry classes, which definitely helps simplify things. What these do remains consistent across each class, so if you find one that you really like, you can also unlock it for the other classes. Now, there isn't a golden rule when it comes to picking the strongest boost cards. It will ultimately come down to playstyle and personal preference, but I'd recommend the following if you're just starting out or struggling to compete. Survivalist is something that I run on all my classes, and it decreases the time it takes to heal. This will allow you to play more aggressively and pressure the enemy team more effectively. It will also make you a better defender, and for newbies it can simply help you stay alive longer. Resourceful is another useful card because it reduces the recharge times on all your abilities. Again, this should allow you to be a bit more aggressive and worry less about managing your cooldowns. Bounty Hunter is a bit different. It doesn't help you perform better, but if playing the hero characters is important to you, then this will help speed things up by increasing the rate at which you earn battle points. Now, during matches, there are 2 key ways to maximize the amount of experience you earn. The first is by killing enemy players. This can be an extremely effective way to earn experience, and the aftermatch scoreboards are often dominated by players with high amounts of kills. This isn't always the easiest way to rank up though, unless you're really good at slaying. Playing the objective is the second most effective way to rank up quickly, and arguably the fastest. This isn't always easy either, but for players that might struggle to keep a positive kill-death ratio, it can be a good alternative. Sometimes objectives can be as simple as sitting on a capture point, so even if you're not the most skilled player, it's still possible to do well. Really good players will be able to do both of these methods, but if that's not you, there's no shame into leaning into whichever one suits you best.
Sensors indicate more coming online. Await further orders.
Overall, this new system is a very welcome improvement. It's not particularly original, and in a few cases it's still more complicated and cumbersome than it should be, but compared to what the game launched with, it's a night and day change. According to DICE, there will be new progression items added to the game in the future too, making things more interesting and potentially changing up the game's meta. So let's hope this is just the beginning of something positive. But let me know what you think about these changes, and if you think there's still room for improvement. If you've got any questions around ranking up, leave those for me below. If you enjoyed this video, drop me a like, and if you'd like to stay up to date with all my content, be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, thanks for watching.